Friday 13th, 2009, the sex scene. Now, first, I don't know why You Got Perfect Nipple Placement, Baby is not on a t-shirt, and why that t-shirt is not hanging in my closet.
Lights, camera, and action. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Friday the 13th.
The original Friday 13th was released on May 9th, 1980, and with a budget of $550K. It opened with over $5 million, and it went on to gross just over $59 million worldwide. And adjusted for inflation, that's about $140 million today. So that's not bad.
That's pretty.
And if you do adjust for inflation, you're looking at about a $1.4 million budget, and you made $140 million bucks. That's not bad.
That's an incredible return.
Yeah.
Incredible return on investment.
So adjusted for inflation, it is the best Friday 13th movie.
Oh, yeah.
Money-wise. Yeah. Now, the reboot or reimaging, whatever we want to call it, was released on February 13th, Friday, 2009, with a much bigger budget of $19 million and opening in more theaters than any other Friday the 13th, including the Freddy Krueger crossover, Jason versus Freddy, or Freddy versus Jason.
I think it was Freddy versus Jason.
Freddy versus Jason, yeah. It was in 3,105 theaters. It opened to the tune of $40 million on the opening weekend. And it was a little front loaded because it closed at 65. Yeah. And it only made another $25 million in like 4 or 5 weeks. But worldwide, it made 91.5. So it's still not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
So not only are we going to see if these movies are still good today, but which one is actually better. Okay, so Friday the 13th from 1980 holds a Rotten Tomatoes score of 63% with the critics.
That high?
Yeah. And the audience scores 60% on Rotten Tomatoes, while the 2009 reimaging has a 25% with critics and 46% with audience. Now, the first one is about camp counselors doing everything you can do wrong in a horror movie, from doing drugs and drinking and cussing, sex. It means you're going to die. It's... If you're taking part in any way, something sexual, yeah, you're going to die horribly. The reboot, I'm trying to remember, is pretty much the same thing. Because thank God, because
yeah,
that is not really a formula that I think you should mess around with. And I don't think it wouldn't work with these type of movies to mess with the formula. Just because if you take more reality-based common sense horror movie, and that's not why we watch Friday the 13th.
But at that point, it turns into a completely different type of movie. It turns into a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Those are different. We're here for the ridiculous, you've had sex, now you're going to die.
Yeah.
Slasher, over the top goodness.
Because if you like these movies, you probably on some level, I think, like every Friday the 13th movie on some level. I know there's like ones that you'd say are worse, but if you think... If you're like one of these people's like half of them are junk, then you're not really a Friday 13th fan. You're just not.
I think it takes a very particular kind of person to really enjoy the cheesy slasher horror. There's it's almost like a niche kind of market where you're like, what's going to be ridiculous? Well, some of it's not going to make sense, but that's where the magic lies for it. You know what I mean? It's there.
Yeah.
It's not in the storytelling.
No. And half the time, when it comes to Friday 13th, you're almost rooting for Jason. Like you are really. Yeah. Because like you'd be upset if he just died halfway through and someone. Yeah,
Look,
it would be.
Most of these camp counselors are just trash people. Like in the first movie, they were just a bunch of trash people. I was like, I would not entrust my children in your care.
No.
I'm not saying you deserve to die, but I'm not overly sad you're going to die. And then in the reboot, I vaguely remember them all being douchebags.
Yeah, I'm having a really hard time. I even stopped myself from watching the trailer because I started watching. I'm like, no, I'll wait because I really do not remember it.
I remember there being some good kills where you were just like, very nicely done. But some of it, I was just like, it's not one of those where you're like, I can recount the entire movie because
No.
it was that memorable.
And 1981, and I'll get to I have a gripe with it in a minute, but I just recently watched, I don't know if you watched the Netflix of the movies that made us,
No, I haven't watched that.
where they do little documentaries on popular movies of our childhood.
Oh,
From comedies to horrors. Last year they did a Halloween one where it was a Halloween version of it, and it was Halloween, Friday 13th, Aliens, and a bunch of other ones. And I watched the Friday the 13th one. So I have a bit more memory of the actual movie. But, okay, so let's start with the 1980s Friday the 13th. It's a very blatant, even by the makers of the film, ripoff of Halloween. In fact, it was completely conceived as a result of Halloween's success. And this is the filmmakers from this little documentary I watched saying this. It was Halloween was so successful, they thought, how can we do this? And they just basically switched from suburbs to summer camp. But it followed every horror trope, or not every horror trope, but a lot of them. And it invented a few, from abandoned places, open windows and doors, nightmares that may have been real, death to fornicators. This is actually a list of movie tropes I got from online. Finding old footage, splitting up, which you should never do in a horror movie.
no, never.
Alone in a dark house or building,
Yep.
a mysterious neighbor, trespassing, seeing things in the windows or mirrors, every feeling of being watched, which I do remember huge in the 1981, that POV shot of what the killer watching them. Women or children are the only ones to make it to the end. Warning from a person they get information from, or in Friday 13th, the crazy guy in the town. And of course, the one last scare, just when you think it's over, they got that one last scare, which Friday 13th is notorious for having. So it followed them, but I think it invented a lot of them too. Let's start with 1980. What do you remember about the 1981? Like, when did you watch it? The first time you saw it?
I probably saw it. It was definitely in the late 80s. It was on TV because I was literally just being born. Actually, I hadn't even been born when this movie came out yet. So I remember watching it on TV, and I remember it. I was born later that year. It's fine. But I remember watching it on TV, and it was probably the late 80s, and I had just started to discover horror movies. Because the very first horror movie I ever saw was at 8 years old, and it was Nightmare on a Street. And that piqued my interest.
Oh, good introduction.
Scared the bejesus out of me. Now it's fine, but back then. But I remember a really good feeling of anticipation watching a movie, like, and being on the edge of your seat. Like, I remember being freaked out for while watching it. The very first part, not so much, but like once everybody started, like once the first kill happened, it was like, because there was a lot of POV, there was a lot of like creeping and watching, and I remember that making me super uncomfortable, and I loved it because I was like, this is fun, because all these kids are just running around like not paying attention and then dying. I was like, this is great. So I remember loving it, mind you.
Yeah.
I was a kid the first time I saw it.
I remember hating this movie. The first time I watched it, and the reason being is I did not watch Friday 13th chronological order, meaning I didn't watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first Friday 13th movie I ever watched was number 6, Jason Lives. And then it was just because I remember I was at my grandparents' and there was like 32 channels back then, and one of them was like a movie channel. I can't remember the name of it, but I remember seeing at 1:30 in the morning, and I remember setting the alarm or trying to stay up that late just so I could watch it finally. And then I saw number 4. And then when I watched Friday 13th, the first one, I didn't know, like everyone else, that it was the mother.
Yeah.
But I also expected it to be Jason Voorhees. So I'm watching this movie going, where the fuck is the dude in the hockey mask? And when he didn't even show up and it was the mother, I was pissed. I thought this sucked. Old 70s, 1980. And yeah, I did not like it. I saw it again later and I remember liking it more because I knew. I didn't even know part 2, he didn't even have a hockey mask.
Yeah.
I just figured after watching 6 and 4 and 7 that he just had a hockey mask right from the beginning. And when you're watching a Jason movie and there's no Jason in it, I guess it wasn't really a Jason movie at the first one, but when you're expecting Jason and he ain't in it, that's a bit disappointing.
I can understand that. See, I didn't go in with the same expectations. So I literally was just like, oh, they're at a camp and they're killing everybody. Cool. So I had a great time watching it. I remember having a great time watching it. I watched it in the years since. It has been a long time since I've seen it, since the last time I've seen it. But I'm like, it's still it sets up some good stressful moments. Like when you're leaning into it, when you're seeing the POVs and the counselors getting watched and all this stuff. And I will say this movie did actually make me want to go to camp. I wanted to go to a sleepaway camp. I was a little creepy as a kid. I'm better now.
And hope he'd be chased by...
I don't know. I was
So
like, camp.
you don't want to get chased around by a maniac.
No, but I liked the idea of camp because camp was like sleepaway camp was a foreign idea to me at that age. So I was like, that sounds like fun. And then people started dying and I was like, none of the kids are getting killed. At least I think I remember that. God, if kids are getting killed, that's going to really suck.
Dude, I only remember...
Because it's the campers, it's the counselors coming to set up the camp.
It's always the counselors, yes, to set up the
Yeah.
camp. But I think number 6 actually had... We're going to have to watch all of them.
We're totally going to have to watch out. Because I know Corey Feldman is in 2 of them.
Yeah, he's in number 4. I know that. So
Yeah.
he must be in number 5.
If he's in number
I don't
4
know.
with the
Or
psychic
3.
lady,
I don't know.
a psychic girl? Because there's a psychic girl somewhere who gets visions.
That's number 7.
Is
Oh,
that number
wait a
7?
minute.
We're
No,
gonna
number
figure this
7
out.
is the girl that, I don't know, she has visions. She can move stuff. So she fights
Oh,
Jason.
yeah,
I
that
know.
might
I
be
remember
her.
that.
Yeah, anyways, Corey
He
Feldman's in.
goes to Manhattan.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Now Kevin
So-
Bacon is in this first one.
I know. I
And
remember
I'm trying.
the first
I know
time
he dies. I
rewatched it.
remember how he dies because the first time I don't think I recognized or cared.
No,
It was
I
until I,
didn't know who
watched
he
it
was at
again
that
that I'm
point.
like, oh, that's Kevin Bacon. But I do remember how he died. That I do remember.
Oh God, I don't remember.
I'm
how
pretty
he
sure
died.
he's in at least half the movie.
I think he is.
I won't say.
I think he is. I think he dies after having sex. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like
all
actual
die
sex,
after.
not just like part-time sex. Not just I'm gonna like touch somebody's boobies, which happens a
Now
lot.
the final girl in the first movie, I remember being an adult, like just a big old adult. Just she made the worst decisions. Now, granted, she made it to the end, but yeah, it was just how is this woman not dead? I could be wrong, but I just remember. I remember even as a younger person going, "How is this chick not dead already?"
I don't
But she made it to the
remember
end, so
fangirling about her because through a lot of movies,
No.
when I've seen them, I'm like, yes, girl, you survived this shit. I don't remember doing that with her at all, not even a little bit. I
No.
remember thinking, how has she survived? I was like, this is just dumb luck. Like this was not her being a survivor. This is just dumb luck. I don't remember
and I do
why,
remember,
though.
like you said, because I'm almost positive she's.
I know, but I don't
she's a-
remember the specifics. But
a dummy.
I remember that feeling of just being like, why are you still alive?
Yeah. I do remember a lot of booty shorts, like those short shorts,
Yes.
those orange or brown
Yep.
short shorts where the bottom of the ass cheek hangs. I did like that. A lot of brown, a lot of dull orange. Such a 70s
Yes.
movie.
It honestly, the clothing was
Um,
very, very without being risque. Like
Yeah.
it was the stuff that the teenagers were wearing that were just passable because the parents would be like, "Don't wear that." They'd be like, "It's the fashion."
Yes. Now, the time period that it came out was 1980. For its time, I'm guessing that it was scary. I, like you, near the end of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, had to be near the end of the 80s. And again, the only reason I saw it is because it was by that time, Jason was huge. Jason was iconic, even like back then. And they were probably on the seventh or eighth movie by the time I saw this one. I don't know if I would say he's the number one guy, but like these three here, I would say are, for me, like the most
they're the
iconic.
most iconic, definitely.
100%. But where I find the Jason movies are a little more forgiving in the fact that they are a little more sillier, where Michael Myers Halloween movies are a little more serious, a little more creepier. Not that Jason's not, there's not some creepy, and they have its share of jump scares. It's just a little more fun, where that's a little more, he's a little more comedic.
Yeah.
That he's a little more fun. He's a little more serious, a little more suspenseful.
Well, because I think that's Michael Myers' whole shtick is just he stalks people. Like he has a clear goal. Yeah. He has clear victims. Other people just get in the way. Whereas Jason just kills everybody. Oh, hey, there you are. I'm going to go kill you now. He doesn't have a specific goal.
The best thing you could do in a Friday the 13th movie is run by somebody that's not paying attention, because Jason will just veer off and kill that person, or throw someone in front. Where Michael Myers might kill that person, but it just as easily might keep going after you, because he has like a honing on you, where Jason will just kill whoever is in
Michael Myers
around.
Picks out his victims, and he's like, these are the people I'm going to kill tonight. And then he kills people in between where his starting point and where his like assigned victims are. That's Michael Myers is goal driven. That's his shtick. Jason is, I'm killing everybody because you all suck. No, it doesn't matter who I get to first.
He's a fat person at a buffet. Doesn't matter.
Pretty much, yes.
He's going to
sampling all the dishes. He's killing it all.
Yeah.
And then Freddy, poor thing. I just said this about Freddy. But he has a very select group of victims. He doesn't have the same opportunity or variety as Jason and Michael. So he has to just take what he can get and make as much fun for himself as he can during his killings.
Yeah, before they wake up. Yeah, because at least you can wake up in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes. Everybody else gets, but that's just it. Like only some of them end up in the dream sphere with Freddy. So it's not like the entire world goes to sleep and Freddy has like free reign. No, like you could drop Jason in the middle of, they dropped Jason in the middle of Manhattan, and we all know what happened there.
Yeah. Yeah. And in town, and Jason Goes to Hell, and then in space, and then it just doesn't matter where he goes. He
just kills everybody.
He's just that little wind up robot. It'll hit something like a wall and just turn and go after the next thing. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep on with Friday 13th, 1980.
Yes.
And we'll go down with the movie breakdown. So Friday 13th, 1980, the tagline was, they were warned, they are doomed, and on Friday 13th, nothing will save them. It's not bad. It's not a bad tagline. You can tell they weren't
putting a lot of money into the marketing department for this. And that's okay.
And if you watch that little documentary on Netflix, it's most of their money went to Tom Savini and his effects. Almost all of it. And Betsy Palmer.
Of course.
That was the only real actress that they had to put money aside to get her. The back of the VHS cover, back from the day in the 80s, its outline is, Crystal Lake's history of murder doesn't deter counselors from setting up a summer camp in the woodsy area. Superstitious locals warn against it, but the fresh-faced young people, Jack, Kevin Bacon, Alice, Adrian King, I don't know who these other people are, Bill, Harry Crosby, Marcy, Jeannie Taylor, and Ned, Mark Nelson, pay little heed to the old-timers. Then they find themselves stalked by a brutal killer as they are slashed, shot, and stabbed. The counselors struggle to stay alive against a merciless opponent. Again, see, just by the cover alone of the horror movies made me want to see it, but what's your thought on the outline? Does that pretty much sum it up, or?
It is a really concise synopsis. That's all you can really say about it. They weren't going for pizzazz. They weren't going for, we're going to hook them with this. They were just like, no, it's a bunch of people in the woods. They've been warned. Now they're all going to die. So do you want to see it or not? It was very much that vibe.
Right.
And that's okay. That's Halloween had already established that there is a market for this. So they weren't doing something completely out of the ordinary, but they weren't doing something that was mainstream yet. So I can understand where they're just like, you know what, this is the story. Come join us for the murder and mayhem.
And like I said, I'm taking these from the back of the movies, back of the VHS or the DVD covers. So they only have limited time to get it. I think they get the point across. From the front cover to the back, reading it, it's teens are going to get killed. That's about it. And it's rated R, so there's going to probably be a little nudity and gore. So I guess in that sense, I guess it does it right. Now, do you remember anything? Like I was going to research a lot of this, but then I'm like, that kind of spoils going into watching it. And that's something maybe we can talk about after we watch it. But do you remember anything about the movie that made you want to watch it, other than it being the first Friday the 13th? Or do you remember anything? Like, I just knew it was an independent movie to start with, and it was done on a very low budget. And it was the first. And like I said, I've already watched Jason movies, so that's why I was drawn to it, obviously.
I watched it because I remember I was just discovering my scary movie kink, basically. I was like, I like being scared. I think I remember a commercial for it where it starts out looking super happy, and then they had some creepy POV scene attached to it. And it was like a super quick, like maybe 30-second spot. But I was like, oh, I want to see this. And I remember, and maybe I'm making this up in my head, but I remember the feel of the movie being like, it all starts super happy and like very bright and light, and we're going to make this the best summer ever. And then it quickly devolves into run for our lives, we're all going to die. So I'm like, I love that feeling where all of the characters come in hoping. They're like, this is going to be so awesome, you guys. And then it just goes to shit. And I think it became my favorite horror movie trope, like where everybody comes in happy and one person walks out alive.
Yeah, because if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, there's already a problem. There's already kind of despair. You're right. But like you wanted, like you said, you wanted to go to camp. You want to go to overnight camp.
Yeah.
I remember going to camp. It's like in this fun, awesome thing that just gets turned upside down, where I know I wouldn't last in a Friday the 13th movie. I might not be the first one to go. I might not be banging the hottest chick in the camp, but I am not surviving to the end. I'm that moron that just makes the stupid jokes and ends up getting killed going into the bathroom or something while I'm taking a dump. That's my Friday the 13th.
See, younger me was a lot meaner than older me. So because I was
you'd be
girl,
perfect to get killed.
I would have gotten killed within the first like 15, 20 minutes. But now, present day me, at the first sign of something being creepy, I'd be like, fuck all of y'all, I'm leaving. And I'd bust it out of there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hang around for the killing. Because now I'm like, no. The dark is no good. Nature is no good. I wouldn't even be out in the woods. Let's be real. I wouldn't even be out there. None of that.
Okay, so the reviews for, like I said, Rotten Tomatoes was 63. Rotten Tomatoes audience was 60. IMDb, 135,000 plus user ratings, has a 6.4 out of 10. And it's the highest rating of the Friday the 13th movies.
I can see that.
Which I can... okay, so let's watch the trailer, and then we'll make our predictions on if it's going to be good or not. I do love that.
Oh, Lord.
Hello? Who's that? Oh, hi. What are you doing out in this mess?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's a no-no.
Now you have to die.
We weren't doing anything. We were just messing with
4, 5, 6,
Must be my imagination.
7,
It's great that you didn't even try to leave.
Can I help you? Hello?
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, Friday the 13th. You may only see it once, but that will be enough. Friday the 13th.
You know what I love? I love that those were cutting edge FX. And I love that I did actually remember Kevin Bacon dies in bed. Because I was in my head, I was like, I think Kevin Bacon dies in bed. I think he does. And I was right.
And he does. And yeah,
And it makes
they pretty
me feel
much
good about myself.
they pretty much gave away the movie. No, not gave it away, but like
They
gave
weren't
away a
shy
lot of
about,
the
like-
kill.
Yeah, they weren't shy about, so you see all these people, they're all going to die. I hope you're happy.
Yeah.
This is it. Just be prepared.
I do miss the voiceover guy.
Yeah.
Like those previews with the voiceovers. That guy had a great voice. Although, like 1, 2, by 8, I'm like, holy fuck.
I
Jesus
know, that
Christ.
was a little tiresome. But they were like, guys,
So-
we could put numbers on the screen.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the trailer. We talked about the
Yes.
first movie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Are you think you're going to like it after all this time watching it? Or you remember liking it? Do you think you're going to like it again?
Okay, I remember liking it, and I think I'm going to like it again, but, and I need to put a caveat on this, for lack of a better term, I'm going to like it because of its campiness. It's one of the original movies that
Yeah.
all of the horror movie tropes that we grew up with, it originated like within these two movies, like Halloween and Friday the 13th, and then leaning it like 1978 to I'd say 82 is when this genre firms up. So I think I'm going to like it because it's going to be super campy and super fun. I also think I'm going to be
Yes.
mildly offended. I'd like to point that out.
Oh, yeah. Good old misogyny and...
Yeah. Someone's going to use
I
a
mean-
slur. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Going to be a couple slurs.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm going
All
to
the
look
isms.
at this as... Now, that I know Jason's not in this one. I'm going to try to look at it as the movie that it is, that
Mhm.
started it. And yeah, I 100% agree. I'm going into this for the campiness because the acting, even through the trailer, looks atrocious. The stupidity
It
is
did.
blatant. Like the lady that was, the axe came up
Yep.
and she just closed her eyes and waited for it. Like you could have fucking pushed her. You could have turned around and ran away.
You could have taken a step to the left. Like even that, just a step to the left. But no.
Yeah.
Let me just stand there
Yeah,
and
there's a-
watch the axe come down.
Yeah. But and like you said, it should be even funny for its politically incorrectness. But we got to remember it's 1980. So yeah, I'm going to try. I'm hopefully going to have fun watching it. I want to like it. I remember liking it. I want to like it. So yeah, here's hoping. All right. So let's move on to
Yes.
2009, Friday 13th. Okay. The tagline for this one is Welcome to Crystal Lake. Jason lives, many will die. Quick and to the point. And its outline is against the advice of locals and police, Clay, Jared Packett, I can't pronounce his last name. There we go. Scours the eerie woods surrounding Crystal Lake for his missing sister, but the rotting cabins of an abandoned summer camp are not the only things he finds. Hockey mask killer Jason Voorhees lies in wait for a chance to use his razor-sharp machete on Clay and the group of college students who have come to the forest to party. Yeah, it's not okay. The tagline, the back is not as good as the first one. And I, for the life of me, do not remember this movie a lot. But I do, Jared, from that little show that had a season or two with the supernatural stuff. I watch every goddamn episode of that.
So have I.
Yeah.
Like, I actually got super angry at one point. And I'm not even lying to you, because I was like, no, I don't care how shitty the show is. Because there were a couple seasons there where I was like, they should just quit. They should just stop. But I was like, I will watch every goddamn episode, even if it kills me. And then I did a rewatch. And I did the exact same. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's because I was using it while I was working. Like, if you play Supernatural in the background, it's literally just sound. And then you can pick up, like, the funny scenes that are coming up. You're like, oh, wait. And then you pause your work for half a second, and then you like watch the funny scene, and then you go back to work. I enjoyed Supernatural.
There were a couple seasons where it wasn't horrible, but compared to the rest of Supernatural, there were 2 or 3 seasons that were, they was okay. The last 2 or 3 seasons, I thought were really good.
I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
A lot.
Like it picked up. That Scooby-Doo episode, that...
Oh, God, that Scooby-Doo episode was awesome.
And they did a bunch of... Yeah, it was good. But I do not remember this friggin' movie. Now, I know I watched it. I know I did not see it in theaters, but I went to a video store and rented it, and I bought it. I have it here on Blu-ray. I have the killer cut, the theatrical cut. So I liked it enough that I saw it for sale, used, previously viewed at the video store, and I bought it. So I must have liked it, but I do not remember. I think I bought it, watched it, and that was the last time I saw it back in 2010.
I have seen it more recently, not in probably the last, what year are we in? 22? Probably 6 years, I'd say.
It's still a while ago.
Still a while ago. I have a better recollection of it. I remember like enough of the characters that I'm like, I'm not super sad. And also... oh God, what is his name? I think his name is Ryan something, but he was on Veronica Mars and he played Dick. He was one of my favorite characters. Oh, but he's in this movie too. So is Dana Panabaker. I can't remember. They have, I think, 2 whole black people in this movie.
Well, it's 2009.
2009. Leaps and bounds, my friend. Leaps and bounds. I don't remember anything that made me go, ew. I thought it was a pretty standard horror movie. I remember liking it. I think I also own it. Or I don't. No, I don't own it. And I remember being mad about not buying it when I saw it. Because now it's so hard to find DVDs. And that makes me extra mad. But yeah, no, I remember really liking it. And I remember it having some pretty cool kills in it. And it's very... I want to say it's very stereotypical. Like, you're very clear on who each character represents and who they are.
Yeah.
And it's not...
Yeah, like the designated character
There's
tropes.
like the designated douchebag,
Now that I do remember.
Really nice athlete.
Yeah, at the beginning, you knew who was going to be the final people, and you knew who was going to die. Like that, there was no question. I do remember.
You knew exactly who was going to die, and you also knew who was going to end, who was going to die topless. You knew. You could pick them out. You were like, yep, you and you. Goodbye.
Now, this movie was made by the same director and I think producer, I think that's what the poster said, by the who made the 2003 remake of, was it 2003? Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel. Now,
Yes.
I remember liking that movie, and that movie was very gritty and dark and grittiness of the film and look. But I don't remember that in this movie. So I'm excited because it's the people that made that movie, but I don't remember it being like that movie. And that would be a total shame if I'm correct.
If I'm not mistaken, and because this is, I feel like it was high quality gritty. Like they were trying to make it look gritty. So there was a lot of like very darkly lit scenes. I remember that because on one of my shitty TVs that I used to have, I couldn't see anything for some scenes where I was like, everything's just black. I can't see nothing. But that was literally because it was just so darkly lit. Like now you can see everything, but, or at least I hope you can. God, it's going to be so annoying. I hate when there's something happening on the screen, but I can't see it because everything's so darkly lit. But it felt very polished. It feels like a very polished movie. So I think they were aiming for the grit, but they didn't quite get there.
Yeah, I believe you're
feeling
right.
Shiny.
Now, the reviews on this one, like I said, in Rotten Tomatoes was 25% from the critics. The audience gave it 46, so better than the critics, but not very good.
Yeah.
And IMDb has 108,000 user ratings, and it sits at a 5.5 out of 10. Not great. So that kind of sucks a bit. But if anything, like I remember there's our Friday 13th movies that have critic ratings of 7 and 11.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like all the Friday 13th movies.
Yeah, but you kind of, there's this thing that I say about all kind of slasher movies. If you're going in there expecting a really good storyline or a well-developed character, you're looking at the wrong place. You're not going to find that there. So you have to measure it against the measures for a slasher horror movie. You have to factor in the camp. You have to factor in the laughter. You have to factor in the ridiculousness. Because if you're looking for a really good, oh, this is going to scare the bejesus out of me, this is not Insidious. These movies are not Insidious. It's not The Conjuring. This is a completely different thing. But if you're comparing them, of course, these are going to come up lacking.
Yes.
But in the slasher movies, these are classics.
Yes,
and
I
they're
agree.
entertaining.
Yes, I always thought I hate ghost movies. I don't hate them. I like them, but they scare me more.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because there's nothing you can do to it. At least in a Jason movie, I could maybe do something. Like you could run, you can outsmart him.
Yep.
Where you probably won't. You'll probably end up dead. But
no, you'll probably still end up.
You have a little chance.
Live a little longer. Yeah.
Yeah. Where if you're in The Conjuring, again, I'm not the guy who survives that.
It's true though, but also, I think that's also the difference between Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You mentioned that one, especially the one with Jessica Biel, because there's one particular scene. I watched that movie from start to finish, but there's one scene where they pick up the girl. So good, so good. I cannot rewatch it to save my life because there is one scene in it.
Oh, I know the scene you're talking. I think I know the scene.
Girl in the car when they pick her up, and I can't. Literally, my brain shuts down after that, and I'm like, I can't. Nope, not gonna watch it. She takes something out of her personal pocket.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that alone, I was like, whoop, nope. Cannot. I watched the rest of the movie after that scene. Great movie, loved it. Can't watch it again.
So if we do Texas Chainsaw Massacre on here, you'll have to watch it after that.
No, we have to watch the OG. I can handle the OG. This one, no, can't do it. Nope. I would be interested to see how I would react, though. I think it would be really funny to see how I feel rewatching it. Because
maybe you should record yourself watching it. And then we can take little clips on, and then use that as the middle. Do the first part like this, and then do the middle of the show of just like clips of us like, why is he doing that? Or you going like,
oh God, we should do a reaction show at some point for one of these movies. Just honestly, that was when I realized what was happening on screen. I went, oh, and all my friends were like, what? I was like, she just took that from, oh God. And they all thought I was like overreacting. And I was like, dude, that's a revolver. That is a very large gun.
Yeah.
That is not okay. But anyways, that was just, I was having a moment. I'm okay. Ooh. But yeah, no, this one I felt was going for gritty. Didn't hit gritty.
No, I remember that because I just saw the poster recently when I was looking it up, and I found out it was the same guys who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, so I didn't go to the theater and watch this, but I did watch it in 2009. As soon as it hit video, I was probably at a Blockbuster grabbing it the first weekend it was out because it was a reboot. And I didn't understand what that meant, but it had Jason in it. So I was fine with it. I was excited about seeing it. And I do remember liking it. I wasn't mad that they were rebooting it. I mean, it's another every Jason sequel is like a reboot. It's the same thing, campground, and they're just redoing deaths. It's the same people. So everyone's like a reboot, really. But I didn't have any animosity. Like where Nightmare on Elm Street, when they took out Robert Englund, I had issues with that. Do I want to see it without Robert? Obviously, I did want to see it, but that's something we'll probably explore.
We'll totally get into that, yeah.
But Jason,
I had feelings.
You just need a big dude with a mask on that has that perfect turn and look and that walk towards, that intimidating walk towards people. So I didn't have any animosity towards this remake at all.
I never have real animosity towards any remakes or reboots or reimaginings unless they literally change it completely from what the spirit of the original is. The spirit of the original is Jason goes around killing indiscriminately in the woods around Crystal Lake.
Yep. As long as he's doing that.
As long as he's doing that, I don't care what you do. That's cool. Like when he went to space, I had issues. They came up with a reason for it.
I went to the theater and watched that one.
My friend
but the way they did it, who? Oh, I think I can remember you telling me this.
Yeah, right at the beginning, the two campers who end up like getting naked and then die. Yeah, my friend was one of them. I used to bartend with her. She's really nice. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I've seen your titties now. This is awkward. Anyways.
But they did do it. I was going to say
gave him
smartly,
a reason for being there.
But there was a reason there, yes.
There was a reason he was there, but at the same time, you're just like, I personally did not consider it a Friday the 13th movie. I was like, this is separate. Because it's not
this is the Adventures
Jason.
of Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not near Crystal Lake among the camp killing people in the woods. It wasn't that. So I was like, I will still rewatch that movie when it comes on TV, which doesn't happen very often. But I will still watch it because it is ridiculous and I love it. And I'm like, this is crazy, but I will watch it every time. But it's not a Friday the 13th movie to me because it's not in the woods.
It's the Adventures of Jason Voorhees. Same with Jason Goes to Hell. A little more closer, but it's still an adjacent adventure, not a actual. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's watch. Let me just set this up.
Did you know a young boy drowned here? He was my son. And today is his birthday.
You won't believe my parents' cabin.
Here we are. Very nice, huh?
Just get your ass to the door and don't let us
but I'm looking for my sister. She's gone missing. Have you seen her?
She ain't missing. She's dead. People go missing around here, they're gone for good. There's something
His name was Jason, and today is his birthday.
I'd like to say very nicely done with using the numbers.
Yeah, a little better than the first one.
I like that they were hearkening back to the trailer from the original.
Yeah.
I was like, this is nice. This is nice.
It looks good. I don't care what anyone
I
says.
liked it, as far as I remember.
Yeah, as far as I remember, I liked
Yeah.
it.
As far as I remember, I liked it. I remember it being a good time. I remember it being fun. I remember it having fun kills, a few jump scares. It was a good time.
What do you think? Because we're going to sit down and say, which is the better Friday 13th, the 1980 or the 2009? Like you, I'm going into the first one for the camp value. I think I'm looking at having fun of watching it. This one, the 2009, I know it's not going to be gritty like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so I'm not expecting that. But it looks good, and I haven't seen it in a long time. But I don't know which one I'm going to like better. I have a feeling I'm going to like the newer one better.
I will probably end up liking, I think it'll probably be the newer one too, because I feel like they would have more fun with the kills. Because you can only have so much fun with the kills in the originals.
Yeah, they were restricted.
And they couldn't do as much, like with special effects or the weaponry and whatever. Like, it was very much like, we can't show that much blood. We can't show an actual decapitation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's something that the new ones, because you go through all the feelings in the newer reboots or the newer slasher movies. But it'll be hard because I think the original kind of has my heart a little bit. So
And
I
it-
don't
yeah.
know where I'm going to end up.
It's the original. It sets up a lot. I know Jason's not going to be in the first one, so that's the big major thing against it for me. But you never know. I'm looking forward to them. Do you have to buy them? Do you have them?
I think
And
I have
we
them on one of my
should-
streaming services.
Now they are on Paramount Plus, all of them. They
Yes.
are on Prime, I believe, and they are on AMC.
Okay, cool. No worries. I've got Prime.
And we are not,
And then I can add whatever I need.
and I'm not watching the killer cut of the 2009. I'm going to watch the theatrical.
Okay.
Okay.
Theatrical.
Because that
We
could
can
make
do
a
that.
big difference.
It can make a huge difference.
Although, if the killer cut's the better movie, should we watch the killer cut?
I might do it just for shits and giggles. I feel like I should watch the theatrical, though. You know what I mean?
For the verses?
For the verses. Because
Okay.
the
Yeah,
original
no.
is what would have been released in theaters, too.
Yep. You're
Because
right.
chances are that is not the movie that the poor director actually wanted to put out. I'm going to throw that out there.
Okay, so we're going to watch the theatrical versions on both movies and then compare them.
Yes.
Now, if
and
I
then at a
like,
later
and if I
date.
like it, I will, yeah. If I'm
Watch
like,
The
wow, that was
Killer.
a big pile of shit, I don't have to watch Killer Cut. The hell I was thinking.
No, I don't have to. That was a big pile of shit. I don't want to. How do I watch this?
Have you found it? Everyone
It
has
says
Prime.
Video. Yeah. Apparently my phone is just being a douche nozzle, though. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Because it tells me it's available to rent or buy, and they're like, rent or buy at primevideo.com. That's fine. I'll figure it out.
Or you can rent it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, really. It's amazing how cheap they are now.
Yeah.
Mind you, they used to be super cheap in the rentals, but you could only rent it for like one day, and then you actually had to physically walk to a store
As a pain in the
and
ass.
exchange your DVDs.
Yeah, my wife was like, oh, I miss going to
VHS.
Blockbuster. I'm like, I don't. Half the time you walked in there, the movie you wanted wasn't there.
Yeah, and then you had to make do and pick something else.
Yeah. Or you like
Stupid.
walk around for a while and, oh, are they putting it back?
Yeah. Give it time. Give it time for them to put back movies.
No, Mr. Coates, for the 9th time that movie's not in yet.
Oh, God, that was amazing.
All right.
Yeah.
So we should look into recording ourselves watching it, but not at
Yeah.
the moment. That would take up a lot of memory.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so we're going to go watch it.
Yes.
We're going to watch both of them, and then we're going to come back.
We're going to watch the OG and the 2009, and we're going to see.
We're going to judge
Who
them
did it
individually,
better?
and then
Yes.
see
And then
the
compare.
two of them, and then compare. All right, I'm looking forward to watching these
Fantastic.
movies.
Me too. It's been so long, especially since I've seen the original Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's been a really long time. I think
And
it's
I'm
been
like-
like 10 years.
And then I'm like, after I watch these, I'm going to want to watch the other ones, but they're perfect for this type of thing.
Yeah.
So we'll have to.
It's hard. I'm afraid to watch movies now. Like movies I've already seen. I'm afraid to like brand
Or I
spanking new
haven't
ones. I'm like,
watched.
gosh,
Brand new ones are fine, but the
Yeah.
old ones, I'm like, you know what? This might make a good episode. Should hold
it's
off on
getting
that
fucking
one.
ridiculous.
Okay, so I'm going to stop recording.
You heard them. Movie time. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat, and then watch a classic kick-ass movie from whenever the one we're about to watch was made.
Okay. So you watched the 81st
Yeah, I watched the 1981st
and then the 2000.
because I had watched the 2009 more recently. So I was like, let me fully refresh because I can't remember the last time I saw the 1981 in full.
Yeah, it is a long time ago.
Yeah. I was like, shit, I really haven't seen this movie in probably 20 years. And I never even realized that I hadn't. That's the crazy thing. I was like, for sure I've watched it like more recently than that. But I was like, I don't think I have.
When I started watching it, it was familiar, but I realized that it was like a couple decades ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Sad as that is.
Yeah, there were some familiar moments and there were moments where I was like, I know what's happening. And then it would happen and I'm like, I don't remember it happening that way. It was close, but no.
Okay, so let's jump into Friday 13th, 1980. We'll go through it here, and then we're going to judge the movies on their own and then compare the two. So we're going to go through the plot. And I'll read like the paragraph, and then we'll stop and go over it. Okay? So in 1958 at Camp Crystal Lake, counselors Barry Jackson and Claudette Hayes, I didn't even know that was their names, sneak inside a storage cabin to have sex where an unseen assailant murders them. Okay, actually, we won't do the paragraph. We'll stop right there. And because I have some thoughts on it. They really went out of their way to make this. Well, I didn't know if they did it on purpose, but I got a really strong Christian vibe. If the camp was like a Christian camp, because they were singing some really God-felt songs by that. It wasn't even
They
a
were
campfire.
singing campfire hymnals. I'd like to point that out. I was like, I'm not even like, I went to Catholic school my entire life. I went to Sunday school. I went to catechism on top of that. And I have 3 of my 5 sacraments. So there were some of them where I was like, we're not even that Christian. Like, we don't sing that.
No. And the guy that, no, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, my one note for that was, like, the opening scene has very golly gee whiz vibes.
And I was just about to say the first person that got killed was so Eddie Haskell.
Oh, yes.
That we weren't doing nothing.
It was very Leave It to Beaver.
As he's doing up his pants. We weren't doing nothing.
We weren't doing nothing. And,
I don't know what you think you saw, but that's not what you saw.
That's not my penis. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no. Like, even
She
the
forced
dialogue,
herself
though.
on me. Yeah, yeah. The
dialogue
wasn't-
was so, like, G-rated.
And I'm
and I was like-
wondering because it was 1958, and I think maybe that's what the writer was going through. He's like, "What's 50s? Oh, Leave It to Beaver's 1950s."
I think they're in
And,
extreme 1950s.
Yeah. Okay. So now, present day, 1979 or 1980 when the movie came out. Camp counselor Annie Phillips is driven halfway to the reopened Camp Crystal Lake by Enos, a truck driver, despite warnings from elderly crazy Ralph and disgusted reactions from the townspeople. Okay, so that scene was creepy too. Like those people, I know it's a product of its time, but like if I walked into that diner / store,
Yeah.
it'd be like, what the fuck? And
Oh,
I don't know
no,
if that
I'd
was on
leave.
purpose. Yeah.
I'd leave. I'd be like, no, this is not the vibe I want. But this is also a girl who walks in there because she's been hitchhiking and
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
most of the way to camp. Like, she's not really personal safety girl. You know what I
No.
mean? So then all of a sudden it's like, hey, why don't you give her a ride? And she's like, okay. I was
Yeah.
like, look at some ID or something. Oh God.
I don't think kids today would relate to it because back then, I guess hitchhiking was way more
Common.
Like it was a lot more common, way more common, I think. I don't know if people still hitchhike.
They do, but not very often.
Yeah, and the people I see hitchhiking, yeah, I'm not picking them up.
Sketch. So sketch.
And I will point out this too, because I noticed, because I was waiting. This is how my brain has been conformed. When she had trouble getting up into the truck and he had to grab her ass and push her up, I thought for sure it was going to be a turnaround and she was going to like bark at him or say,
Yeah.
oh, no, you didn't. But I guess that was the 1980s or late 70s where a man could grab an ass and shove it up into a vehicle.
Funnily enough, yes, that was the 1970s. That was,
And it wasn't
perfectly
sexual on
commonplace.
his
No,
he didn't. I was
he's like-
expecting, is he going to try something or make a comment?
Honestly, in the truck, as they're like chatting, and he's all like, "Where are you going? Why are you doing that? Like, why are you going to Camp Blood? I don't understand." I was waiting for him to be a super creepster,
Yeah.
and lean over and grope her or something, or
Yeah.
undo his pants, whatever. I was like, this is the part where he like totally attacks her.
Yeah.
And then he didn't. And I was
No.
confused.
Yeah, as I expected. I'm like, is this how? In my head, I was starting to play it out. Was this why she ended up walking only halfway because she got mad and stopped and
No,
jumped out
it's-
and
that
called
was
him a
where-
creep? But yeah, it was totally. She needed help. He needed to push her up, and that the easiest way was his ass, her ass. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, no, it was also because in the truck, he stares at her a lot. Like in silence. They're silent. And he's just staring at her. And I was like, okay, this is where creepy comes in. But he didn't do anything
It was
other
just
than
bad
stop and let
direction.
her. He was just
Yeah, it was just a
socially
bad-
awkward.
Yeah, it's just a horrible scene. Not a horrible scene, just a very drawn out scene.
But also, I noticed that her dialogue was dubbed and his wasn't.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, they did her lines afterwards. I'm like, oh,
Maybe
they
her
dubbed all of her dialogue. The majority of it. When she actually gets out and she says, okay, thanks, that was actually on location. But for most of it, it was all dubbed. And I was like,
Oh, wow. I
that's-
just thought
it's-
she was a horrible actress.
Oh, no, she's still a horrible actress. That was one of the things I noticed about this. I was like, my God, this is terrible. Although I'll give points to Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph played hit, and that was the first trope that I'm like, there it is. There we
Yes.
go.
You have to have
crazy
the
guy.
sinister warning from the crazy person that nobody takes seriously. But he was wonderful. This is ridiculous. I actually wrote, he's creepy, but not creepy enough to be an obvious omen. Like, you
Yeah.
can't take him. He's creepy enough that you're creeped out, but not so creepy that you're like, I think we should take him seriously.
Yeah, not yet, and we'll get to that. And Enos, I guess that's his name.
Yeah.
He was a bit of a hypocrite because he was bad-mouthing Ralph and saying that he's causing problems and the opening of the camp is suffering from it. Yet he does like a 180 and just tells her to quit and don't go. The writing started off very horrible. And I think even for its time.
Oh, yeah. No, this was
it
terrible.
It was fucking bad.
Like the actual production. You know how sometimes you're like, okay, you know what? The elements just don't jive. Like for the
Right.
first probably 10 or 15 minutes of this movie, I was like, who said it was okay to record this? who was
Yeah.
like, this dialogue is stellar. We need this.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
The guy who wrote, directed, and fucking produced it said it was it's the same guy.
He needs a friend. He needs a
Yeah.
friend to read the stuff and be like, no, sweetie, this is not it.
But the look, because I watched it on Paramount Plus, so the actual look of it, I remember it being a lot more grainier, a lot more older, more saturated.
Yeah.
Just the transfer back when I watched it, this was really cleaned up, and it looked all right. And I have a soft spot for those 60s, 70s movies with music and long drawn out cinematography. I kind of like that. The acting thus far, not the greatest. Because I was like, when she got, well, okay, so Enos warns Annie about the camp's troubled past beginning when a young boy drowned in Crystal Lake in 57. After being dropped off, she hitches another ride from an unseen person who drives her past the camp. When Annie escapes the vehicle, the killer chases her into the woods and slashes her throat. Because my thoughts were like, if this is the best actress and they just killed her off, we are in trouble. This movie's going to be a lot worse than I remember it. Because Kevin Bacon and his buddy and the girl were driving up, and their acting was, as much as Kevin Bacon is one of my favorite actors, but
Yes.
them driving to Camp Crystal Lake there, I'm like, it's not boding well. But yeah, so they killed her off. But I did like how you didn't see who the killer was.
Yes. That I enjoyed. The killer POV is my favorite thing that they use throughout this entire movie. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is quality. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I did like it. It was kind of cool. Now, at the camp, counselors Ned, Jack, Bill, Marcy, Brenda, and Alice, along with owner Steve Christie, we'll get to him in a second, refurbish the cabins and facilities. Trying to get Alice is the final girl, right?
I think so.
I think so.
She's the one with the shorter blonde hair, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And she was going to go home, and Steve convinces her to stay. And he gave off like this really creepy vibe. And I don't know if it was his like 70s porn mustache or his short shorts.
No. There was, if I'm
that
not
guy should not be
mistaken-
running a camp with children.
Yes, I also feel like we should definitely bring a spotlight on the abundance
Creepy
of short
Steve?
shorts and Creepy Steve. Because I was like, this is fully sexual harassment.
Yeah.
I don't know if they used to date and they have broken up. I don't know if he's like just a super
Which would have made a
creeper.
little more sense if
Yeah.
that was the case. But they didn't establish that.
They didn't establish what their relationship was before. But then all of a sudden he's doing, because this is one of the creepiest things a man can ever do to a woman. It's when they gently touch their face. If you gently caress anybody's face, but it's especially creepy when a man does it to a woman. I'm like, guys, I would start running. I'd be like, what? No, I'm out. He's gonna watch me sleep. This is weird. No.
Yeah.
He had super creeper vibes.
Yeah, Steve shouldn't be running a camp with children. If he was around today, he'd definitely be on the dark web.
Oh,
Like-
100%.
But then, and I'm jumping ahead, that's it. It's just, there was no, I was half expecting him to show up later being more creepy, but they didn't utilize the creepiness. They just that one scene. So I don't know if it was coming across as boyfriend and girlfriend, that he was being affectionate in a 1970s porno type of way. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. So
It was
Steve.
a weird thing in this
Yeah.
entire movie because they like half establish everybody. They're like, it's like a little taster menu of the cast, but you never go into anything. You have to deduce things. Like the super funny guy, I didn't know until he had super sad face that he had a thing for the girl. And I was like, oh, that's what's happening because you're mad Kevin Bacon's getting with your girl, but she's not your girl because she's getting with Kevin Bacon. I get it. That's why you're super sad. Okay.
yeah.
I'm like, there's too much. The audience has to do too much work.
And come on, Ned, it's Kevin Bacon. Yeah, he didn't stand a chance, dude.
Once, we all saw him in a swimsuit,
Yeah.
itty bitty little swimsuit.
Yeah.
Small.
They did a good job during the day showing them working on stuff, getting the stuff ready when Steve took off. And the snake that was in the cabin and they all came to the rescue. And that part was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that part was okay. I'll be honest, I was enjoying it a little more this time than I did the last time. One, I knew it wasn't Jason, and it already starting to go through those tropes, and it was already cheesy. The acting wasn't good. So now Steve leaves the campground to stock supplies, I guess. Ned sees someone walk into the cabin and follows. Oh, no, before we get to that, because this is missing a couple things, the cop on the bike. Like this, now I know in the 60s and early 70s, this cop seems so out of place, and I don't know if it was meant for comic relief. Because I'm thinking like the late 70s, you got Cheech and Chong, you've got that whole very aware marijuana culture, but it just, today, it was so beyond cheesy, beyond.
It was pure comedy today. And if it was, if that character in that scene was put in a movie today, I'd be like, yes, it is definitely like a comedic tool, 100%. But because it's in a movie that was filmed in 1979, came out in 1980, I'm like, I think it was supposed to actually be semi-serious.
Yeah.
The counselors don't take him serious, but he takes himself serious.
Yeah.
He's the serious cop, and I'm going to get you guys. And also, I don't know how much, like, loss... We lose something in the translation between, I think, the script and the acting, because I think the director may have been taking naps at some point while this was filmed. Because I'm like...
Maybe.
There wasn't a lot of cohesion in the performances. So that's why we have the cop who I thought was hilarious. I was like, I hope that was the purpose.
But I don't think that was the purpose.
I don't think that was the purpose either. I'm like, I think he was supposed to be just a hassling cop to establish that the counselors and these high school or university kids are being watched, or it's another way to establish that they're trouble and that they shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But I was like, it failed if that was the purpose of it.
Yeah, it was jarringly out of place.
It was funny. It was so funny.
It was funny, but it was like, really? Jesus. Yeah. Even for a 1980s movie, it was cheesy.
So cheesy.
Now, Ned sees someone walk into a cabin and follows. While Jack and Marcy have sex, Kevin Bacon, in one of the cabin's bunk beds, they are unaware of Ned's body above them, his throat having been slit. Now, we don't see him actually get killed, do we? Or
we do not see him get killed.
We do not see his
body.
Right.
He literally just goes in and that's it.
Yeah. When Macy leaves to use the bathroom, Jack's throat is pierced with an arrow from beneath the bed. So the effect was actually not bad for its time, like the actual arrow coming out of the throat. The killer being under the bed that long, I don't know. It was, because they're not big mattresses. You'd think you'd bounce our head off the floor. Or
they're like, and it's not that high off. I'm saying, did it even have sheets, the beds? If it did, it just had a fitted sheet, if it had one. Because I'm like, there was no on top. Are you telling me you can't see that there's someone laying underneath the bed?
Yeah, or feel them. Like, I half expected when she was going up and down, they were like, and then you would hear a ow, 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 as their head or body was being hit by them.
Well, yeah, it was like a whole weird, I was like, that's super, don't get me wrong. The Kevin Bacon kill is one of my favorites.
It was good.
I loved it.
Yeah. And that's Tom Savini, so yeah.
Yeah. I was into it. But through the entire, like, that entire scene, I was like, you have to suspend so much disbelief. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
You're like, none of this would have happened. Like, they just walk in, start getting naked, have the sexy times, say sweet words, she's got to pee, he dies.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Now the killer follows Marcy into the bathroom and slams an axe into her face. The acting was pretty good. I don't know why she just stood there and closed her eyes and accepted fate. She didn't even try to run, fight back, nothing. And
She didn't even
what
try to
makes
move
it...
to the side.
No, she just, yeah, it's like, "Well, I guess my time's up." I hope this killer has good follow through or a lot of upper body strength.
Oh my God.
Now, when Brenda turns in for the night, she hears a little boy's voice calling for help and ventures outside to the archery range. And before she got to her cabin, she went to the bathroom to brush her teeth. That was creepy. Again, there were a lot of good parts in this movie that was creepy when she heard something. And as she turned away, you saw the hand come out of the shower curtain. So yeah, had some good creepy moments. And we didn't see her death either because she went out to the archery range and the lights came on.
Yeah.
She screamed, and then later, and then we go to Steve at the diner, and he's leaving, and his car or Jeep breaks down, and then he gets a ride from the sheriff, who was a lot more believable than the bicycle cop, motorbike cop. And then he gets a call, and then he has to walk, and he gets to Camp Crystal Lake. The sign does it, the lights on him, and then he recognizes the person, obviously, and then he gets stabbed.
Yeah.
Then, when the power goes out, Bill goes to check the... Oh, wait, I'm missing something here. Worried by their friend's disappearance, Alice and Bill leave the main cabin to investigate. They find the axe... No, okay, so hold on. Before we get to the axe in Brenda's bed. I didn't get that... Like, they were looking for them, they couldn't find them, and she's, let's just leave, blah, blah, blah. Then she has a fucking nap. While I'm like, because first she's quite adamant that something's wrong, and she's, screw everybody, let's just go. And then, well, I'm going to look around. Well, if you're going to look around and don't leave right away, I'm going to have a nap. I'm fucking exhausted.
Yeah, I have a feeling that was like an on-set conversation where they were like, we have to try and make this make sense because someone just pointed out it doesn't.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, we'll just have her like take a nap because she's tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's tired.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you're like,
Why won't she go with him? She's scared.
Yeah. Why is he alone? No, she's tired.
No, she's tired.
She's tired. She needs to lay down. And that's why he's alone. That's it.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what? But okay. Yeah.
I love independent old movies like that because she woke up and she's like, what was his name again? Oh my God. Not
his name
Jason.
Again?
No, not Jason.
No.
Anyways, he wasn't there. She woke up in a daze and like, where did he go? Oh yeah, he went to check the thing. And it just...
Oh yeah, he went to check the thing.
Oh, Bill. Sorry, it was Bill.
Oh, Bill.
Now they go and check and they find the axe in Brenda's bed. The phone's disconnected and Ned's truck inoperable when the power goes out. No, sorry. They found the axe in the bed, the phone disconnected, the truck not working. When the power goes out, Bill goes to check the generator and then she has a fucking nap.
It's one of those, you know what? Here's why it's so hard to remember the order of things because none of it makes sense.
No,
none of it makes sense. So it's impossible to figure out what to remember what the next thing was because you're like, who the fuck takes a nap when you realize you're basically stranded at this camp that the locals call Camp Blood?
Yeah.
And you've been warned by Creepy Man that you're never coming back. And I'm like, and you're just all, I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we can go back about 30 minutes in the movie, I forgot about Creepy Man when the one girl went into the pantry and he was standing there waiting for them. They didn't seem overly concerned about that. Like, how long was he standing there waiting to spew his doomsday speech?
So and he gets on his bicycle in your pantry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets on his bicycle, rides away, and he's like, okay, bye, guys. You're like, and nobody at that point was like, guys, we should leave. No. Nobody's here. Let's just pack up and go. No. They're all like, let's get ready for bed.
Yeah, I just found a fucking lunatic in the pantry. I don't even know how long he's been there. Like, we haven't eaten yet all day, so he could have been in there since this morning.
Yeah, there were a lot of holes in the logic in this.
Yeah. Okay, so now when the power goes out, Bill goes to check Trina. Alice heads. Okay, now Alice wakes up and where'd Bill go? And she heads out to look for him and finds his body pinned with arrows to the generator room's door. Yeah, we didn't see his death either.
No.
She flees to the main cabin to hide, only to be traumatized further when Brenda's body is thrown through the window.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we, at this point, like, if you're only watching this for the first time, then you wouldn't know, but most people do. Ms. Voorhees has some crazy fucking upper body strength.
Yes.
For all this.
She is abnormally strong for an elderly woman.
Yeah.
Because it's been, what? She was probably in her either late 50s or 60s in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're sitting there going, girl, why are you tossing bodies of like adults around like they're rag dolls?
Yeah.
She's impressive.
And soon after, Alice sees a vehicle pull up and rushes outside thinking it is Steve. Yeah, I don't know what would have been worse, Mrs. Voorhees or creepy Steve. Instead, she's created by Mrs. Voorhees, a middle-aged woman who claims to be an old friend of Steve and his family. I will say, because I thought she was in this movie a lot more than she actually was. But it is dated, and the writing was not the greatest. She was creepy. She did
100%.
play a very great creepy old lady.
That she did. I will fully give Betsy Palmer her due because she was wonderfully creepy and very clearly unstable. But at the same time, I know you just killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you. Not about the killing thing, but your son. I feel bad. And now that caused a psychotic break somewhere. And now you just kill people every time they come up. Is it only on his birthday that you kill people?
I'm pretty sure she's doing some serious fucking training in between camp
100%.
openings.
Although I will say this, and did I miss this? Because after Mrs. Voorhees introduces herself as the killer, what is her name? Alice is holding a rifle, right?
Baseball bat. No, when she first...
There was a rifle.
We're getting to the rifle.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to talk about that because I have feelings.
Yeah, I have a couple myself. She reveals that her son Jason was a young boy who drowned in 1957, blaming his death on neglect by the counselors because they were having sex instead. Revealing herself as the killer, she attempts to kill Alice, but Alice knocks her unconscious. More than one time, might I add, and did not finish her off. First, she had the baseball bat, and she had a knife or something from the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
She knocked her out, threw that stuff down, and ran to the barn with what seemed to be a small militia worth of fucking guns on that wall. Like, that was like a platoon or a brigade worth of fucking guns. Not one bullet. Not one bullet. But Miss Voorhees didn't know that. And it didn't look like Miss Voorhees didn't give a fuck.
No,
she's
she
like,
really
whatever.
didn't.
Whatever. I'll still kill you.
What drove me nuts was just the tossing of things at her. Because it wasn't even throwing.
No,
There was
and
no
it was
force.
like
It
little
was
things
tossing.
too. Yeah.
Yes.
Because she just went like this with just waved her hand a little bit. It was like a little inconvenient.
It's a toss the rifle and then toss like something off the table and then and I was like, what? You're not even trying.
No.
Throw with some force.
And then she knocked her out again and could have just bludgeoned her to death. And I get it. It's a horror movie. I'm glad she didn't. But yeah, and that's one of the things I love about these movies is that the stupidity is part of the charm.
It reigns supreme. It really, really does.
Now, at the shore, Miss Voorhees tries to kill Alice again with a machete, but Alice gains the advantage and decapitates her.
Mm-hmm.
I only know this because I watched that. There is a great documentary called Crystal Lake Memoirs that I have not seen. It's like an 8-hour-long documentary that covers every movie. That Netflix one I did watch, and I believe that's Tom Savini because Betsy Palmer couldn't do it. And I now that I knew that watching last night because I could see his black hairy arms when he was trying to see where his head was.
Yeah.
But other than that, the fight was actually really well done for being an older movie, like how old it was, how independent it was. Yeah, it was a good fight scene.
It was a good fight scene. That was probably my favorite part, like physical part of the movie.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yes, this is a great fight scene. You feel almost vindicated after the decapitation. You're like, yes, I assumed it was a body double because I was like, those are not her hands.
No. No.
Look at me learning things. Overall, that was my favorite. That was definitely my favorite part. She drove me nuts. Alice, the character, drove me nuts because it was very much, I'm going to do just enough to survive for now.
Yeah, she wasn't as dolty as I made her out to be before watching.
Yeah.
She wasn't as dumb as I remember her being. But you're right. You're right. She did just enough to make it to the end. She didn't go above and beyond or try to get extra credit. She just did enough to make it. And then she boards and falls asleep inside the canoe, which floats out on the lake. Why?
I don't know.
Why she would do that. Obviously, they're like, how are we going to get that last scare scene to work? Because, of course, the cops wave at her and she and then Jason comes out of the water, which is a great scene.
Super great. I had actually forgotten it existed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that.
I remember a legitimate jump scare back when I watched it. This time I knew it was coming, but it was still really creepy. Like they did up the face and everything. It looked really, really creepy. But the fact that to get to that scene, she just hopped in a canoe without a fucking paddle, mind you, because she was using her hands to get there and then just fell asleep. That's fucking dangerous. She didn't even have a life jacket on.
My question for me, I was like, why is she even getting in the canoe? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Just like there was no reason for it. And someone was like, why?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Why
didn't she just, because I'm sure one person was like, or even maybe the actress, she's like, why wouldn't I get in the Jeep and fuck off and go get the cops? No. You're tired. You need to get in the canoe or else the scene will not work.
You're tired. Take another nap. It's going to be fine.
And then the police sergeant and the medical staff were attending to her. When Alice asked about Jason, the sergeant says there was no sign of any boy. She said then he's still there as the lake is shown in the ripples in the water, which is a great ending. And I just found out that this movie was not supposed to continue with Voorhees or Jason. They were going to make a sequel movie, kind of like Halloween. It was going to be just an anthology, a different thing, Friday 13th Part 2, a different Bad Luck Friday 13th. But it was so popular, blah, blah, blah. And I'm glad that they stuck with Jason. So for my thoughts on the movie by itself, it wasn't as bad as I remembered it. I did enjoy it. It was the script and all that was bad. I would probably give it a 5.5. I will probably watch it again in 10, 15 years. I don't really remember it.
Yeah.
But it's good. And I know a lot of people might argue this, but I'm a Friday 13th fan for Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
I saw my first Jason movie, number 6, and then number 4, and then number 5 and 8. And Friday 13th Part 1 was probably one of the last ones I actually saw. So I'm a fan of Jason, not Friday the 13th. And so that movie was it dragged a bit. Out of the top movies, it would be down really low for me. But at 5.5, before going into it, I'm pretty sure I would have said like a 3 or a 2. It was okay. It was... Yeah, that's me. If it was the first movie I saw, Friday 13th, probably would have liked it better. But...
I feel like almost this is the movie you have to get through in order to get to the good movies in the series. This is just the prequel that like lays the foundation. Because rewatching it, I was like... I don't like it as much as I remember. Oh. It was like, it wasn't terrible.
No.
Okay, it was terrible, but not like terrible.
Yeah.
It wasn't like unwatchable terrible. I was like, the pacing was off. Through every time there was just enough suspension built or just enough edge of your seat, like, what's going to happen? It dissipates.
Yeah.
The next scene just takes everything away. And you're like, okay, I guess nothing's going to happen. Or something shocking happens. And then any kind of momentum you got through that is gone because now you have a scene that means nothing or it doesn't have the same kind of build up to it. It's just kind of like, okay. So that drove me nuts. The acting was incredibly terrible. Like super duper terrible. Like the very last scene, Alice in the hospital, and she's like, I guess he's still out there. And then I think her face was supposed to be worried and a little frightened. Instead, it just looked like she was trying to hold in a fart. And it was just, I was like, oh God, you've ruined it. This is supposed to be, I wonder what's going to happen next. Instead, it's like, do we have to keep focusing on her face?
What would you score it?
I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, that's even better than me.
Yeah, I still liked it.
I was going to say, from what you just said, that whole speech, I was not expecting a 6.
But here's why. I already knew you were gonna have some bad acting. Like, it's gonna happen. But normally you have actors in the movie who kind of lift people up. They lift up the bad actors. There's some really good ones. So you're like, I can excuse the bad ones for the good ones. It averages out. This one was just terrible all across the board, except for like very few, like Ralph. Ralph was great.
Yeah.
But Ralph is not enough.
No.
I think there was a lot of confusion, but I think it makes for a really good prequel. And I do think it's enjoyable. Am I going to rewatch it tomorrow? No.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No.
Maybe not even in 5 years.
If I was watching a Friday
if I'll ever see it
13th
again.
marathon and I forgot about the first one and sat down, I'd be like, fuck! I gotta do 2 hours before the real movies start.
See,
but if it was a few years from now, I might be like,
if it's a few years from now and someone says, oh, I've never seen a Friday the 13th movie, I'm going to be like, okay, look, so you got to watch the first one to understand what happens.
Yes.
In the others. And then you're like, but it's going to be terrible, but don't worry. And then they're like, okay, that wasn't that bad. Like, it's watchable.
Yep.
It's just not super watchable.
All right. So 5.56.
Yeah, man.
All right. On to 2009. I had higher hopes for this movie than I did in 1980. All right. So Friday the 13th is a 2009 American slasher film directed by Marcus and written by David Shin. Oh, I'm reading the wrong thing. Here we go. Plot. Now, this is a lot. There was a lot of complaints in some of the reviews I did read. I thought this was great. On June 13th, 1980, a young Jason Voorhees watches as his mother Pamela is beheaded by a camp counselor. They wrapped the first movie up in 2 minutes.
Yep.
It was done. Bravo. I thought that was great.
I was into it.
And the woman who played Voorhees, Mrs. Voorhees, was a great actor. And the blonde that played Alice and chopped her head off was a great actor. You could tell right from the beginning that acting got a lot better throughout the decades, and there was a lot more money. Yeah. So right off the hop, it was, they wrapped up that whole, you should have been watching him. You drowned. You were having sex. I killed everybody. Now and they wrapped it up nice. Is beheaded by a camp counselor who was trying to escape Mrs. Voorhees' murder spree and around Crystal Lake. Now we go to 29 years later, and a group of friends, including Whitney Miller, arrive for a camping trip at Crystal Lake, where they hope to find a crop of marijuana growing in the woods. And so far the movie's great, and this whole opening, this 20-minute open, was fantastic. It was cheesy. It had that stupid humor for a horror movie. It had boobies. It had everything. So far, 20 minutes in, for me, the movie's awesome.
I was down for it 100%. The acting was leaps and bounds better. They set up the film, like they set up the movie quick, easy, direct. You knew what was happening. You knew
Yeah.
what had happened. You're ready to go. And the acting was so much better. So that was one of the things where I was just like, I actually wrote the note, acting is a million times better. Literally.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
because they all seemed very natural. They all seemed like they were friends. Like you actually felt that.
Yeah.
There was not one awkward actor in the group. And I was like,
No.
this is amazing casting.
Yeah.
Guys are
And,
awesome.
what was his name? Oh, crap. Sorry. The guy from Superstore.
Ben Feldman? Is he from Superstore?
Was he not?
I feel like he is.
Always have IMDb up.
Because Ben Feldman, for some reason, if it's in the 90s or like the 2000s, I always confuse him with Fabrizio Ferretti.
Yes,
or
it is
something?
Ben Feldman.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it is Ben Feldman from Superstore.
I love him.
And he was funny. And the Wade character who wanted to get the marijuana was funny. The other guy wasn't funny, but he's a good actor. And I was saying before how I was disappointed knowing that it was the same director from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It wasn't as gritty looking, but it had a style. And I think a lot of the reviews category, it was very slick looking. And that's about as good as you could characterize it. And to me, it was great. And Jason, where are we here? That night, an adult Jason kills everyone except Whitney, whom he captures as she resembles his mother at a young age. This one, a lot of people complained that Jason ran. And you could see in this opening 20 minutes, him running with the machete.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fine. I thought it made him almost more menacing or more of a, because you always had that thing, because Jason moved really slow. And it's great. They're great. And Kane Hodder is the best. It's almost like acting through movement. And you think just walking, but he had that great with the mask on where he turned or tilted his head, and he had that great walk. But this, he seemed more menacing when he was running. Because I always thought as a kid, you could almost try to outrun him because he just walked. There's no outrunning this dude. Like this guy was.
See, the Jason of yore walked slow.
Yeah.
But then when you were running away from him, if you stopped to look back, he was somehow in front of you. He was right there. So that's the Jason of yore. This one, they took the magic out of it. Or you tripped and then you were like, oh no, because you can't stand up again because it's impossible once you've fallen over your own feet. But in this one, he has a purpose. He's running after you. There is no magic of like, where did he come from? You see him coming and you can't move fast enough. And I'm like, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm with
kills. The kills were great.
Good.
Burning her, tying her up to the thing and burning her. The guy, he just happened to step in the one bear trap that was.
For the bear trap, I feel like we really would need to highlight this and give special props to the FX people and the makeup people, because that mangled ankle was perfection.
Yeah.
Perfection. I was like, because that's what a mangled, like in a bear trap, ankle would look like. And he's trying to pull it and you see it. And I was like, yes.
And even her burning in the sleeping bag. When they showed the camera inside the sleeping bag, the panic, it was really well done. And the other boyfriend, Wade, his kill was just
Yeah.
But he had a very realistic reaction, like where he freaked out and backed up and kind of tried to quickly negotiate. Even the boyfriend, when they got to Camp Crystal Lake with the knife coming up through his foot and then his hand, and him saying, help me, and then being dragged down, telling her to run. And then, even when he came running at her with the machete and she held up her hand and it stopped.
Yeah.
Friday 13th came across this. That was a long opening, but it was good. To this point, I'm really into the movie. I'm like, it is pretty awesome.
No, I 100% agree.
Now,
I'm into it.
6 weeks later, Trent. Okay, we'll get to Trent in a minute. Trent, his girlfriend, Jenna, his friend, Chelsea, Bree, Chewie, Nolan and Lawrence arrive at Trent's summer cabin on the shore of Crystal Lake. So they have this, they go into the gas station and you get to meet everybody. Yeah, I remembered the movie because of Jared
Padalecki.
Padalecki.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
I forgot all these characters. The two main characters were my least favorite. I actually liked the group of friends.
Yes. There were definitely more entertainment in the group of friends, and there was almost a controlled chaos about them.
Yeah.
Where for some reason they all just collectively lost their minds at one point. And they were like, we're not going to do anything that makes sense. And I was like, yes. Also, can we just highlight that Trent, the actor who played him, his name is Travis Van Winkle. Can we just
Van Winkle, yep.
I love that. I was like, it was funny because watching this, I was like, I recognize all of these faces. Like
Yeah,
I've seen you in
yeah,
multiple
I love
things.
them, yeah.
It was fun to kind of watch, but yeah, it's from the gas station on, they start establishing.
Well, they
the friend
establish
group.
him pretty quickly that he's a douche.
Oh yeah, they establish that he's a douche, but also the leader of this little ragtag bunch, and they also establish that Nolan, who's the other douche, doesn't actually recognize his authority, and him and the blonde girlfriend.
Yeah.
They're like, sure, you got it. And they're just like off doing their own thing. And then they establish that Chewie and the other guy, what is his name?
Oh, hold on.
I'll remember at some point, I swear. Lawrence. Larry? Were they calling him Larry?
No.
Was it Lawrence? But anyways, no, it wasn't Chewie. Was it? Yeah.
Hold on.
Now I'm trying to remember.
So we have,
yeah.
no, it's Lawrence, Trent.
Yeah.
Trent's kind of Lawrence, Nolan, Chewie, Bree, Chelsea.
So Lawrence and Chewie are kind of put up, and I love them. Trent is already a super douchebag who apparently, because his girlfriend wanted to take a walk, gives him the right to sleep with someone else.
Yeah.
Who's all, yeah, cool, whatever. And I was like, aren't you supposed to be friends with the girl? What? You people all suck. And I loved it because I was like, they would make for a great soap opera.
Well,
Them together.
A writer by the name of Nick Perkins, who I believe he wrote for comingsoon.net, and he did an article about this movie and then 5 things why this movie was better than the 1981. And one of it was this guy, and it was a picture of Trent. And he summed him up perfectly by calling him a combination of a villain in a John Hughes movie and a super annoying millennial. And that pretty much nailed it. And it was a good thing. He was
he was perfect.
Yeah, it was good.
He was, because you needed someone to make Clay, Jared Padalecki, look almost virtuous.
Yeah.
He needed to have a foil, and that was him, and it made sense. And I was like, and he was just fun. Trent was a fun character.
And actually, like I said, I remember the one girl, she's in The Flash, and then Padalecki. Those are the 2 I remember. I did not remember these other guys, and how great actually they were. And I guess the budget makes a big difference because the acting was by far superior.
Oh, 100%. And there were people who had really established themselves already as actors, like Jared Padalecki. Panna Baker had been acting since she was like in her, I think, early preteens. Amanda Brigetti was getting regular work on TV. I think she was a regular on The Mentalist when this came out.
Oh, okay.
Brian Hansen is just the greatest ever. I love him so much. But yeah, no, they had a lot of really great talent. Experienced actors.
Yeah, and when they stopped at the gas station, that little time told you exactly who was the jerk, who was the comical guy, who was the laid back guy, whose boobies we were going to see. Like you could almost, you could tell, no, I'm not going to see her, the main girl. But I bet you I'm going to see those other girls. So again, so far so good. And where are we? Okay, so now they go to the house to set up. And again, they do establish a lot more of their character. Trent becomes more of a dick. Now Clay is out and he gets stopped by the police guy, the police car. That seemed a little forced. Like, I get movies do that, but I get, it allowed them to give the story of what was going on and
Yeah.
the cancer, the mother having cancer and stuff like that. Then he goes and sees there another trope, the crazy lady at the door saying that your sister's dead. And then he goes sees that fucking weirdo wood chipper.
He's my favorite.
And after when I saw him, and I know I seeing him, I'm like, I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff. He's one of those where it's his face, but
Yeah.
there were characters like that all through the Friday 13th. That fucking weirdo that is creepy or whatever, and he's gonna get killed. So it's following the tropes really, really well. Then he shows up at Trent's cabin. She invites him, which I thought was a dick move because it's already established your boyfriend doesn't like him, but whatever.
My question is, why is he accepting the drink?
Yeah, like what?
I'm like, you've already had a run-in with this guy. Why are you all? Yeah, sure, I'll come in for a drink. No.
And
You say thank you, but no.
And big budgets, I don't think solve the problem of, well, why are we going to do this? She would do this. Well, then this scene's not going to happen if we don't.
Exactly.
Now she takes off with him to go help looking for them. And then we're on the wakeboard. And they're doing the wakeboard and we get to see Booby. And then we get to see Buddy, who I liked. So he didn't last very long and got the arrow through the head.
But it was a great kill.
Yeah. And then the boat hit her. And then this is where I started to have a problem with the movie. Not hugely, but one, I don't think Friday 13th movies should spend a lot of time during the day, especially when it comes to kills. Two, what the fuck was she doing? She saw him on land, take out his monstrous machete, and then she still swam to the dock and then went to the dock stealthy as if he wouldn't see her. And he gets her. And that was actually a great kill. I did like that where the whole thing came down and then he pulled it out and her head hit the top. And
I love that kill. It's one of my favorite kills of all time. Also gave us extra boobies, which you have to appreciate in the horror genre.
Yeah.
However, it was the stupidest move for a character to make.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, he's on land. What? Where are you going to land? Especially the same area he was in. Like, why would you do that? None of this makes sense. But it gave us the best kill.
Yeah. And that's
that
one of those.
I believe.
And it's also, it does fall in line with the stupidity of Friday 13th character.
God bless. God bless. I would love one.
I would have hightailed it to the other end of the lake.
Right. Or swim to the boat.
Or the boat.
The boat is in there somewhere. It's in a lake. It's not gone out to sea. You're okay. Go to the boat. Or grab the
now,
big
Clay and Jenna search the old Crystal Lake campgrounds where they see. Okay, so they get there during the day, and then it cuts back to the wakeboarding. Then it cuts back and it's nighttime. So I don't know how big this fucking camp was, but they were there. I think Trent mentioned something like 8 hours. They went out looking, and then they come across this last cabin, and then they say someone's coming, and it's Jason coming back with the body. Yeah, it's again, and then Jason finds that bag and loses his shit because he thinks someone here, looks under the canoes, and then guess that's it. I'm trying to, because I watched both, so I know there's differences between the two movies, so I'm trying not to, I'm trying to remember which is which. And then they leave. He wants to go and see where he's going. She's, don't be stupid. We're going to go.
we're going to go. And then they end up finding that tripwire with the bells.
Yes.
And then the bells ring and then the sister screams.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, I fully appreciate that this movie gives us a small indication that Jason does clean up. He does the body cleanup. I was like, thank you. Thank you. Because normally these mass murderers just leave the bodies. But nobody seems to find them. And I'm like, it's nice that you're like, no, you pick up your body and you take it with you.
Yeah. And it gives you that reveal where that's how he's able to gain a lot of ground, is that he does have those underground tunnels. And yeah, that part was very cool too. Okay, so we get to see the sister chained up down in the underneath in the tunnels. Jenna and Clay run back to the cabin to warn the others about Jason. Okay, so this is where Chewie breaks the table.
The chair. Because it was a family heirloom.
It was a family heirloom. After trying to do whatever he was with the Brie, Lauren's just getting high, and then Trent and Brie head upstairs. We get to see more Booby.
Yep.
We get to see very bold move on Lawrence's part, about to masturbate in an open living room surrounded by windows.
With a catalog. Let's not, that was his source material. It was
winter catalog.
The lingerie section. The winter catalog. Long Johns. Woo.
And this is where Chewie dies.
Yes. In the woodshed.
Sorry. This plot thing sucks because let's go back a bit because Jason does go and kill the weird redneck dude. And he still has the thing over his face, but he pulls it off. Makes a really unnecessary comment about Jason's looks. How un-PC is that?
He was also having sex with mannequins, so I don't know.
That's true.
If we can really put much stock in what he says. When he was talking real sweet about her, the mannequin, taking his virginity, I was like, how active was she?
Yeah.
This little mannequin of yours. That was very disturbing. But
and then
Jason make me uncomfortable.
Jason kills him, realizes his hood thing or this little sack or mask is ripped, sees the hockey mask on the ground, picks it up. So this movie's covered number 1, 2, 3, and probably bits of 4. But it's cool when he actually because he is a intimidating fucking Jason. The actor that actually plays him is an ex-MMA fighter, 6'5". He did all his own stunts. Just a massive dude. Then go fast forward, he's in there, and Chewie does. It is cheesy, but it's funny where he's playing with the hockey stick. Sees Jason behind him and he's like, is this yours? It's your ensemble. And then he gets killed.
Yeah.
By this time, Clay and Jenna are now back at the house, warning everybody.
Yes.
They do call the cops. The sex scene with Trent and Brie.
Yes.
Now, first, I don't know why You Got Perfect Nipple Placement, Baby is not on a t-shirt, and why that t-shirt is not hanging in my closet. And not only was it funny, but on paper that had to be the cheesiest fucking line they rent. Not like your tits are spectacular and stuff like that, but you got perfect nipple placement, baby, ! Like, I'm sure the guys and everyone on the set was like, bro, good luck with this line. You know what I mean?
Well,
you were going to be taunted.
Yeah, I think it's perfect Trent, which I think was really that made that moment magical, because his hyperfixation on her breasts was incredible, because that's all he was staring at, and he was talking to them. He was really, really focused on her boobs. And I was like, God bless. He's really, and when he said perfect nipple placement, I'm like, oh God, that's not a huge, romantic overture. Thank you.
But even the actress had to read that script and go, okay, and mentally prepare herself for not laughing when he said it. But this actor, what was his name? Travis Van Winkle?
Yeah, Van Winkle.
Not only did he pull it off, but it didn't, you know how sometimes in movies they say something, especially in horror movies, where you're like, oh, fuck. He was able to say it and not take you out of the movie.
Well, I love that whole sex scene because it's both of the characters were having a different sexual experience. They were, they were physically having sex together, but they were both
they're on two
we're
different
on our
lengths.
own journey. Yeah, we're on our own journeys.
You do
We're
you,
just gonna,
and I will.
yeah, you do you. I'm gonna do me as long as we
I'm
both
gonna
get
look
off.
at your nipples.
Peace out. Yeah. But I was like, that would be a lot of pressure if I was the actress and I happened to see that in the script. I'd be
Yeah,
literally
like, he's
staring
gonna
at
say,
my
"What?"
nipples. I'd be like, are
He's
they
gonna
perfect placements? Now I'm all self-conscious of this.
Did they write it after they met the actress and saw her nipple placement? Did they?
Was it ad-libbed?
Was it ad libbed, or did they
Was
say,
it?
"Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa"? The writer's got a note
You
and
know
gave
what?
it to him while he's laying down on the ground.
Yeah.
He's like, "You want me to say what?"
Yeah. I honestly, I would want to give him all the awards if he ad-libbed that line.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and that character was awesome. But so I just had to bring that up because I was going through my notes.
Sure. It's a great moment. I can't believe I forgot it. Trent
Trying
and
to
Bree
remember.
refuse to hear anything about it because they are having sex,
Yes.
even though Jenna
Telling her
is
to go
knocking
away.
on the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go away.
That's commitment. Like, he's
Right?
committed. Yeah.
He's like, no, we're both getting off. If this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. I'm gonna get
Jenna's-
in trouble anyways.
Yeah. Well, and that's that's the part that kills me. Also, I'm like, this is your girlfriend is banging on the door, where
Yeah.
you are having sex with your mutual friend. Do you have no shame? Like you're not even trying to hide it. There was no moment of, oh shit. It was totally like, no, keep going. We're good. We're good. I was like, you're such a douchebag. I hope your death is painful.
Yeah, it is. Lawrence, being the only half decent person, wants to go get his buddy. And even the main guy, Jared or Clay, is like, no, we got to stay in here. But he's like,
"No,
no,
man, you
my
gotta leave
boy's
him.
out there.
You got to leave him.
He goes out, runs into Jason, gets away, which is cool. And then again, that running Jason, as Lawrence is running, Jason's right behind him running, grabs the axe, pulls it out of the thing mid-run, running and chucking the thing, and gets Buddy in the back. Then uses him as bait.
Yes.
Which is, again, yeah, it was cool.
It's a new tactic for Jason. Like,
And I
using someone- I
wish-
was like, I like that.
Yeah, I wish they utilized it a bit more. Because he got tired of waiting. And he went and finished him off.
He was all like, this is taking too long. This is taking longer than a minute. My kills need to be fast. Let's go.
And they don't present him as a dumb. He's very methodical. He's very intelligent, because then he's on the roof and he's like watching and listening to where everyone's going. So he gets Bree.
Yep. Which
Because
is
she
also
goes
one of my
off by
favorites.
herself.
He hangs her up. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. In the bathroom.
Yeah.
Then the other guy's Trent gets his gun, shoots through the door where Bree is already dead, but he didn't really know that when he shot, and then he shot through the door, then looked, and then blamed Jason.
Indiscriminately. He was just shooting indiscriminately, and that's the part that I have an issue with. I'm like, you're wasting ammo. You have a mass murdering psycho running around killing everybody, but you're all like, I'm just going to randomly shoot my bullets.
Which is realistic, because I'm like, that's what I would have done. I would have heard something and shot like 8 of the 11 bullets just in that first sound.
I guess you and I are cut from a different cloth. I'd wait until I had eyes on my target.
Yeah. You might want to carry the gun if we ever get into this predicament.
No problem. No problem. If we're ever being chased by a crazy supernatural killer, I'll take the gun. Don't worry.
And I loved Clay's reaction. Dude, you have a gun? What the fuck are we waiting for? Let's go.
Yeah.
Him getting into the car, him suggesting to leave Clay to Jenna, and just leave this guy, let's go, was classic Trent. But the part where Bree is thrown and smashes in the car and Trent screams, that high-pitched scream was awesome.
Yes. Trent just keeps showing how inept he is.
Yeah, because he starts off as not the greatest character. Like, he starts off as the main, okay, you're the douche, I get it. But he gets better as the douche as the movie goes along.
Yeah. That's character growth, man. That's character development right there.
And then Trent gets to the highway or the road and that whole thing with the tow truck, which he doesn't know if it's Jason. And I thought that was cool too. You think Buddy would pop his head out and say, hey, come on. Yeah.
He would have said something instead of just, also, that's the international sign for go ahead, pass me.
Yeah.
That's not the sign for come closer just in case you might need a ride. Let's have a chit chat.
No, sticking your head out the window going, do you need a ride? Is the international sign of fucking.
Of let's figure out what the situation is and if I can help. This is just go ahead, pass me. I'm like, buddy, nobody's going to walk up to your window if you're just like,
no.
To the guy on foot.
So Trent was correct in like being a little cautious. I loved how the driver saw Jason. Yeah. Whether he didn't give a shit if Trent was hanging off half dead or not, and just drove. He's probably still driving.
It's true because they had a great shot of just his face going, oh shit.
Yeah.
And taking off. And I was like, yes. Good reaction. I love it.
Now Trent's gone, unfortunately. Chases Clay and Jenna back to the campgrounds. Why the fuck were they going back to the campgrounds?
To get the sister. Or to get something.
Did they know? Yeah.
They didn't know the sister was there yet, but they had to go back for something. Maybe his backpack?
Oh, maybe. Because this is where
reason.
Clay discovers Jason's lair and finds his sister underground chained to a wall.
Yeah.
Clay frees Whitney and all three try to escape Jason. Jason arrives, they find an exit, but Jenna is impaled. I forgot all about this part and I was shocked because I'm kind of like, well, she's the final girl, but I guess the sister is the final girl. And
yeah,
so it made sense that she didn't make it because she was not actually the final girl. Sister was, but it still shocked me. I forgot all about it.
I forgot about it too. Which actually impressed myself because I was like, oh, I would have remembered that because it was a great kind of shock to it. And you just see the machete going through her chest and you're like, oh, you just
and
went
again,
for it.
That acting, like her reaction, it was really good. But Jenna's impaled. Jenna dies. They don't mourn very long. Jason corners Clay and Whitney in a barn and Whitney confuses Jason by pretending to be Pamela. Mrs. Voorhees. Clay and Whitney subdue Jason with a length of chain, and Whitney stabs Jason in the chest with his own machete. Yeah, that part was tense. It was pretty good.
Great pacing.
And now we get to the part where, fuck, it must have taken a while to drag that big body out to that dock, and they just don't keep the body to show the police. I throw him in the water. I didn't get that.
They keep putting Jason in the water.
Yeah.
Why?
Amulet goes in. Hockey mask goes in. I did like how Jason came right through the floorboards of the dock. The dock, and grabbed the sister, and it cut there. I like the movie, but you could have put. It didn't have to be Jason. Like it didn't have to. You could have put any mask on that killer, and it would have been the same movie. What I think it was missing missing something. And I don't know if it was because it didn't take place. There was no camp counselors. There was no camp. There wasn't that magic, like you said, of Jason, of that slow walk.
Yeah.
And like many movies of the 2000s, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Wrong Turn, all those type of movies, it really took itself serious, the movie.
Yes.
It had a very serious tone. Friday the 13th movies do not have a serious tone like that. No. They're horror movies, but each movie understands that it's a silly movie. This movie was a complete different tone.
They weren't making a movie with this one. They were making a film.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. The quality is there.
Yeah.
It's great acting, but what you said is true. They could have taken literally anybody could have been the killer. Anybody. And it would have been the exact same movie. The whole point of Jason is that there's more of a connection to Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
And you know that his origin story has more to do with it. It's not just there's an abandoned camp where he hangs. Because literally anybody can hang out in an abandoned camp and stay there as their lair. Anybody can do that, but you have to show a reason why he's there.
Yeah.
And I just don't, I think it would have made more sense if honestly he was in his mom's old house next to the camp.
Yep.
That would have made more sense and it would have been more Jason specific. I still like the movie.
Yeah, I did
It's
too.
still a good one.
Yeah. And
It's just a little interchangeable.
like the camp thing was like remember where the sheriff or the cop we forgot that death was awesome.
Oh, yes,
where
it was.
The cop got to the house. As they were just going to the door, he noticed something behind him, turned around, and he got the thing right through his eye.
It's amazing.
Freaked out the people behind the door. That was a great kill.
I can't believe I forgot about that.
But he did say that he put his top 2 guys on it. Did no one check the fucking camp? There's a lot of evidence.
Yeah. Like
a
everywhere.
lot.
So much of it. There was literally a head just hanging out.
Yeah.
So nobody went to go check that out? No, nobody went to go see the shrine to the dead woman? No, nobody clued in? Cool. All right.
Now,
But
I thought...
his 2 best people.
Yeah, his 2 best people. I thought, and this is fan fiction, if I had my way, because like you said, I did the movie, but it was missing that thing. If they doubled down and instead of when they threw him in the water, he heard his mother saying, "You can't die. Get up, Jason, kill them all." And then came through and killed the brother and sister. And then as it was doing that flashy end of credits thing, you hear people or a radio or TV saying, "Still can't find the bodies, can't still find the killer. This is not stopping X company from opening the camp next year." And then have a guy say, "Yep, we're clearing it out. We're going to have kids at this camp this time next year." Then I would have been like, this is now a friend. Now we establish some sort of supernatural. The camp is coming. What a great first movie.
Yes,
but yeah,
I would have ended it with Clay and the sister Whitney, that's her name, literally walking away after they dumped Jason, and then Jason coming up, and then doing the like Camp Crystal Lake reopening next year.
Yeah.
Missing people count up to 15 now.
Yeah. Still not stopping this company from...
Yeah. And then, like, it's just, locals get a preview of what the new Camp Crystal Lake will look like.
And then maybe hear some, like, music around the campfire or a campfire song.
Yeah.
Just hear it and then...
Kumbaya the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So it's...
And then this would have been a great start to the franchise.
100%. I think there would have been a sequel to this one if they had done it that way, where they opened it up.
Yeah.
Because now it's tied too much to the siblings and to the sister.
Yeah.
It's tied too much. If she was to come back and warn people, or if she had a cousin who was going to go work at the camp and she was like, "Don't do that," that's fine. But I was like, you had a conclusion to this? Then you half opened it up, but not really, because Jason is still going after Whitney and direct to Whitney. And I'm like, it doesn't open up the avenues. What are you going to do? A second movie where he just chases her around?
It was a branch off, some sort of cousin of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I did like the movie. I don't know if you did, but I did watch the Killer Cut.
I did not watch the Killer Cut.
While I was folding laundry today.
Killer Cut is on my list. It's on my list.
It does make the movie better.
Yeah.
There is a bit more to it. Like she does when she's trying to open that walkie-talkie to get out, or what she's doing, and she doesn't. In this cut, she gets out and she escapes. And as she's running right towards the window of the two having sex, Trent and Bree. And just as she goes to slap on the window, because she sees them to slap to get their attention, he pops out and grabs her and then drags her all the way back. Stuff like that. You actually see little Jason at the beginning of the movie in this one. And there's a bit more conversations that are lengthened. Still doesn't fix her not swimming across a lake. She still goes to that part's not fixed. But
that's what we're going to be salty about for the rest of time. Why
Yeah.
would you go to that shoreline? Like, makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Now, the two movies. Okay. So, what would you give this movie out of 10?
Probably give this one like a 7.5.
I would give it 6.5, and I would give The Killer Cut a 7.
Mm.
But in order of, like, right now, because we only did the two, it would be this one and then
Oh,
the
yeah.
1981.
100%.
But I'm pretty sure this one would go way down compared to the other ones, like 4 and 8 and 7 and 6.
Mm.
And just because it's
It's
missing
missing the Jason magic.
the Jason magic, the camp magic, the counselors. But it was a really good movie. A lot of people shit on it, but
It misses the chase, the Jason chase. Because Jason usually ends up like, there's more time. It felt very, for all of the teens that were getting killed, it felt very quick. It was like he just rounded them up and
Yeah.
slaughtered them. Whereas
there was no hope. There was no.
yeah, there was no expectation to escape. It was
That's
just you didn't
Jason
have
was-
time to build that
No.
up. It was just like in and out, everybody slaughtered, cool, moving on. And you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit. that
Like,
was quick. Fun.
He's a
but quick.
terrifying Jason, but he doesn't give you that sense like that guy might get away. No, he's going to get him, and he's going to
Yeah.
get him quick.
Yeah. I think
Now-
that was what was missing. But overall, great movie.
So I'm guessing that because of that, our versus is pretty obvious. Well, maybe not. Like the first movie, the direction, like it wasn't like the first movie was bad, but it was very independent, amateurish. I love the
It was-
POVs.
It lost focus. It had no focus, the first movie. The
No.
1980 had no focus. It was just, these are all of the pieces we want to put together. And we'll just kind of hobble
This
them
is how we're
together,
going to
but-
get there. Whether it makes sense, be damned.
Whether it makes sense or not, whether it's any good or not, we're just gonna do this. It'll be fine.
2009, it was obviously a better directed movie. Like there's and budget, whatever actors. The writing, Friday 13, 2009 wasn't stellar by any sense, but it was a lot more realistic than even by 1980 standards. Not that
Yeah.
I was coherent or anything at that time.
No, but I know how they spoke
Yeah.
in the 1980s, and it was not the way these
No.
poor people were talking.
The music, the soundtrack, the first movie was actually the soundtrack, not that whole that
Yeah.
it actually had a really good score to it.
Yeah.
And so did the 2009, and it actually had a soundtrack. There were some things, but yeah, the suspense, the scares. Again, you have to go with 2009. I know people who love Friday 13th are going to be like,
2009 was a more cohesive movie. If you want to really get the spirit of Friday the 13th, you have to watch the 1980 just to move into the others.
yeah,
Because the 2009 stands alone.
yes,
It's a great one to stand alone.
yeah, it's
And
its
kind
own
of give
thing.
you an overview, like a suggestion. The first 5 minutes when they like cover how we got to present day. If you want to watch the Friday the 13th and you want to get to Jason, you gotta watch the 1980 version. You don't have to like it. 'Cause
No.
you probably won't.
No,
I like it just because it's a good prequel. That's essentially what it is to me. It's a prequel that takes us to the killer that's entertaining.
I totally agree. This versus 2009 was a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to, and I watched The Killer Cut the next day, like today. And if I had to watch a movie tomorrow and I had choice and I only had two, I'd probably watch 2009 yet again before I watch 1980.
Same.
Yeah. Again,
We'll probably end up watching The Killer Cut tomorrow because why not?
I liked the movie. It got shit on a lot, but I liked it. It's better than Friday 13th, 1980. And I still think, though, as we go, if we do more Friday 13th, it will fall down the line of preferred movies.
This Friday the 13th, it really is a reimagining of Friday the 13th. So it's almost completely separate. It's not a real...
No, it's an offshoot. It's
an offshoot. It stands on its own. But if we're going all the movies that have Jason in them, well, yeah, I guess the 1980 version does have Jason in it.
Yeah, it's at the very
But
end.
just not like hockey mask,
Yeah.
stabby Jason.
No,
Yeah,
not fun party Jason.
that's right. It's little kid Jason, which is weird, who apparently has been in the lake for the last, I don't know, 20 years. Anybody else? Just super, like, none of it makes sense, but that's okay.
I'm trying to
I'm gonna
remember how they solved that in part 2.
I'm trying to remember too.
I remember he doesn't wear the hockey mask yet. He has a burlap sack
Yeah.
overhead, which I remember actually being creepy.
Oh yeah, no, it's burlap sack over the face. Way scarier than a hockey mask or any kind of
Yeah.
mask, to be perfectly honest. Ugh. No, because there's no features. That's the part. Like, there are no features with a sack.
No,
So
just
you're
the
just
eye.
like, it's a blank slate, which means you can't read any kind of emotions, even if they're fake emotions, and it's creepy.
So we both agree. Friday 13th,
We do agree.
2009. Yeah.
Also, I'm sad that I remembered the 1980 version as being way better than that.
And see, I remember it being horribly worse. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. Even though I gave it
Yeah.
a lower score than you, it was better than I remember.
No, I remember it being so much better, so much creepier, and definitely more tension filled. And I was like, this is just terrible.
But see, if you watched it back in the 90s, it could have been, because before that, like this Friday 13th and the new Nightmare on Elm Street, and they went for a really realistic tone. The 90s were a bit different than
Yeah.
this.
I
So,
would've-
yeah,
I
you
would've-
might have found it more creepy.
I probably, maybe also because I was like 9 or 10 when I saw it, which definitely,
Yeah,
for the
that-
first
yeah.
time. And we all know that's when your feelings about the movie imprint on you the first time you see it. And then after that, it's a crapshoot about
Yeah.
whether or not you're actually remembering it.
All right.
Oh, Friday the 13th.
I will
Now I need to
stop
watch
this.
all of them.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking,